Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat datang kepada semua yang bersiaran bersama-sama kita. Alhamdulillah, hari ini kita akan bersama-sama. So hari ini I am very excited to share and sama-sama masuk ke dalam buku ini. Saya pegang. So buku ini bertajuk The Art of Letting God. Penulisnya adalah Ustaz Bizi Wahid, dan alhamdulillah, masya-Allah, subhanallah, hari ini kita bersama-sama penulisnya iaitu Ustaz Bizi Wahid. Apa khabar Ustaz? Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah sihat. Boleh dengar suara saya?
Dengar, alhamdulillah. Jelas. Macam mana dekat Singapura? Is it sunny or saya dekat Terengganu? Tengah musim tenggelam. Yeah.
It's quite sunny. It's quite warm at the moment. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, Ustaz, kita nak dengar sendiri daripada penulis buku ini lebih mendalam berkaitan dengan buku chapter-chapter yang tertulis dalam buku ini.
Banyaknya awak punya nota-nota tu, saya tengok.
Yeah, it's full of words of wisdom, Ustaz. Setiap line-line tu macam saya nak highlight semua.
I'm scared you might ask me so many questions later.
We'll see. I would like to hear more from you actually. But insyaAllah mungkin ada yang dah habis baca, berkali-kali baca, ada yang mungkin baru mula membaca, ataupun ada yang baru pertama kali mendengar tentang buku ini. So insyaAllah sama-sama selami apakah yang terbuku dalam buku ini, insyaAllah. Okay, sebelum tu, sebagai permulaan, mungkin saya share sedikit lah Ustaz ya. Actually buku ni, pertemuan saya dengan buku ni adalah tahun 2018. So masa tu saya berada di London tengah melanjutkan pengajian. In a very complex situation, I will say. Because I was really in the middle of things. I was stumbled upon so many things, like that's covering and facing difficulties in my personal life, and I'm doing my research and study PhD student. So encountered a lot of new things I have to go through, whether or not I have to go through, and then at the same time while dealing with study, work, and also family affairs. So I was like deep inside. Although with all the challenges, I think everyone is facing something. Everyone have their own circumstances in their life. But deep inside, we know we wanted to be a good servant of Allah. We wanted to be in that direction. But there are times that it's very hard. Like how do we like handle all of these things by maintaining yourself, maintaining your family, maintaining your career, but still in the path of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. So that's where this book comes, and it's a gift from Allah. Alhamdulillah, membuka jalan cara kepada semua persoalan dalam fikiran saya, insyaAllah pada masa itu. So that's and I really like the title, The Art of Letting God, because usually we listen to like, okay, when we are in a situation, especially at that time I was in London, surrounded by all internationals who are very successful, but I was dealing with my own feeling of incompetency, and everyone is like really catching up, like this is the world, this is the life is forever. So but we as a Muslim, we know that this is not the end of life. We have some bigger purpose in life, but how do we mend all of those things? So the terms like we often heard like follow the flow, ikut takdir kan, ikut je lah apa yang ada kan. So but when I heard this title, The Art of Letting God, I think like, oh, this is it. So this is the answer. What is the art? How do I let go? And what is the true tawakkul? What is the true surrender? So that's are the things that I think is very crucial for us to understand. So in that regards, I would like to ask the first question from the opening, because you have 31 chapter in this book, and the first chapter is the greatest temptation. So when I first look at this chapter, I was like, oh wow, okay. I never heard like people define the greatest temptation is giving up. So And why do you choose this chapter as the opening chapter to the rest of the chapters?
Oh, that's a really good question. Nobody's asked me that question before. Thank you. By the way, I like your story. I'm glad you are in a better place now. Um, you know, the reason why I started off with that, I mean, I could have made that chapter 10, chapter 20, right? The reason why I put it first is because a lot of people, when they're going through a difficult time, the thing that keeps going through their head over and over again is, should I quit? Should I give up? And to me, that really is the biggest temptation that all of us will have in life. You go through a difficult marriage, the first temptation is, I want to quit this marriage. I want to walk away. I want to end it. You have a difficult relationship with your child, you say, you know, be done with him, be done with her. I don't care about my child anymore. You can do whatever they want. You're giving up on your child. You're not even praying for them, right? The biggest temptation at a workplace when you're going through a difficult time, lots of stress, the first instance is giving up. Giving up, I have a lot of, I get invited to a lot of universities who invite me to speak, and many students are going through a very challenging predicament with studying amidst COVID, yeah? Where, you're not at university, you're studying everything online. When you said that you could see your other peers, they were studying really, really hard. I guess it's more stressful when you can't even tell whether your friends are studying hard and you are the only one, like lazying around 24/7. And so there's more pressure on you. And so, the reason why I started it with chapter number 1 is because if somebody's picking up my book and they're going through a rough time, I want to address that point first. I don't want to drag them on to 5, 6, 7, 8 chapters and then talk about this, because they could have given up on the book in the second chapter, third chapter. They might have more obstacles coming their way, like an avalanche. So I want them to actually be given the self-belief, to be able to recover that faith that they are slowly losing because of how things are not really going their way. Okay, so really good question, Noor. The reason why I put it there first is because I want to make sure that they don't give up. If I can convince people to just hold on a little bit longer, even if it's just one more day, even if it's just one more night, right? Some of you are contemplating giving up something important, closing down your business or whatever. Maybe you need to just get through this one night. And the next morning, inshallah, you wake up, you get a solution, you get an answer, you get a message from someone, an email for somebody helping you out. You don't know. The thing is, I'm not saying there's no such thing as giving up. I think there is. But what I'm trying to say is, don't give up too soon. Okay? Too many people I know who are in their 50s, 60s, they regret giving up on something, a dream of theirs, too soon. They gave up on a family member, a loved one, too soon. And it gets harder for you to um, to fix that, to reconcile all of those things if you've already abandoned them too early. Okay, so to answer your question, that is the reason why I chose that as the first chapter.
Right, thank you, Ustaz. Apa? In conjunction with that, do you think like most of the reason that people feeling after tempted to give up, is it because they don't really understand, like it's not that we sometimes having that dilemma. It's between hope and expectations.
Mm.
It's the thing that we need to have a full understanding on it. Would you mind to like quickly or briefly touch on that issue between hope and expectation, and how that by having a hope will give you more strength to keep going and not giving up?
Okay. So the hope and expectation thing, right?
Yes, yes.
To me, Noor, sorry, I'm just trying to share this session around on my Facebook and my Instagram so that more
Okay,
people
yeah,
know.
sure, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
sorry. That's why I
Please,
was on my
please.
phone. Okay. So, actually, this line in particular you're talking about, when I wrote about the difference, in my opinion, of the difference between hope and expectation, is actually the most quoted and the most shared line in my book. Okay.
Oh, really?
When I see all the tweets and the retweets and the IG shares and everything, people tend to highlight that part the most. Um, and I think why it was important for me to draw a distinction between those two things, and anyone is free to disagree. I know it's not something I'm too bothered if somebody says, "Oh no, it's the same thing. Expectation, hope is the same thing." It's okay if you disagree, but a lot of people find comfort in me drawing that line to say that, you know what, there is a slight difference. But it's a slight and critical difference, I said, right? Why? Because we have this mentality and mindset whereby anything that we say we want and we need, we expect it to be exactly as how we imagine it to be. And the thing about expectation, or even the word, right, it's heavy. Right? Imagine somebody says, your parents say, Noor, I expect you to get a distinction in your studies in the UK, right? I'm sure you're like, oh no, stressful,
Yeah.
right? So expectation puts a lot of stress and pressure on the person. So when you say I expect when I apply for this university I get in, I expect that when I apply for that job I get accepted. I expect that at the end of this year I'm getting a bonus and I'm getting a promotion. I expect my business to make R1 million this year. I expect my partner to be fully understanding and to agree with everything I say. I expect my child to never make a mistake, to never disobey or be disrespectful to me. Do you understand the weight of expectations? So I say that I think instead of expecting, I'd rather hope. And with that, I mean, when I hope for things to be good, when I hope for a favorable outcome, when I hope that all my efforts in educating my children, the tarbiyah that I give them, will turn out to be good, I won't be wholly disappointed if it doesn't exactly turn out the way I wanted them to. Because when I expect and I don't get what I expected, I'll be extremely unhappy. But if I hope, I'll say Alhamdulillah if I get it, and Alhamdulillah if I don't. Why? Because I hold on to the fact that Allah's knowledge reigns supreme. He knows what's best for me. He knows what's best for my past, my present, my future. So if He believes that it is not my destiny to receive this blessing that I've been asking for, then I believe that even not receiving that is a good thing. So holding on to the faith that Allah is Al-Hakim, He is the most wise, that Allah is Al-Alim, He is the all-knowing, the omniscient. All of these things and information should empower me, not weaken me, or not make me feel like, there's no difference between, Allah is this. No, it does make a difference. And you should embrace, after making attempts to understand the meaning of Allah's names and how it affects you and how it benefits you and how you can actually feel stronger the more you know your Creator. All right?
This is very true, I think, because sometimes we underestimate the word hope, and sometimes we place the hope in the wrong places where we should place it into
In fact,
Allah.
that's a good point you said, because I often hear people say, "Don't put your hopes up, Noor." Right? People say that, right? Don't put your hopes up. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get disappointed. I think I would encourage people to get their hopes up, because hope is associated to faith. Okay, when I hope for something, I'm placing my faith in Allah, and all of the goodness that He offers to all of us constantly, that better days will come, that more blessings will come my way, that healing will come my way, that justice will come my way. Like, everything good can come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think that's what we need to hold on to.
Thank you very much, Ustaz. We have one question we can quickly ask. Like there's one question from Norazila. May I know how to not to give up too soon? Any tips on that? I think the answer is so
Sorry, say
many.
I didn't.
Any tips on how not to give up too soon?
Well, one tip I can give you, okay?
Yes.
One tip I can give you is, um, we are often um, we allow ourselves to be dragged into a situation emotionally. Okay, something happens, and then you feel like you need to make a decision immediately. I've noticed that in life, 9 times out of 10, okay, you don't need to make a decision immediately. You can actually hold back. You can actually take a few steps back, take a few deep breaths. In fact, in some occasions, you even have time to consult people, to ask others who have done what you want to do, okay, who have gone through the challenges and setbacks that you are going through right now, and they may offer you profound advice and wisdom, nasiha, that will actually help you to figure out what you should do in this situation. And it could be that the advice offered to you is to not give up, okay? Another thing is when you give yourself a bit of time, you can think more rationally rather than triggered emotionally. And then you say, that's it, I'm gonna give up. That's it, I'm walking out, right? I receive so many phone calls, Noor, of people telling me, Ustaz, my husband, said the talak to me, right? Divorced, in the midst of an argument. And it's always in the midst of it, in the heat of it, right? And they want to give up in the middle of a big and huge argument. It's no surprise. And then the reason they call me, Noor, is they ask me, so Ustaz, sah ke tak sah talak tu, kan? Yeah, and then when I explain all the different opinions from the scholars and everything, eventually they will say, but Ustaz, he was angry. Or if it's the guy who's calling me, Ustaz, tapi saya tengah marah, Ustaz. Saya tak bermaksud, right? And so, and I don't want to get into the hukum, but scholars have different opinions about this. But anyway, the point here is, even if you go with the opinion that says, oh, if you are in the midst of extreme rage and anger, then it doesn't apply. It does not count if it doesn't intend it. Even if you go for that, Anor, can you imagine the impact and the trauma it leaves in a marriage when you heard your husband actually uttering those words that you never want to hear? When you, on your nikah day, the last thing you imagine were to listen to those words being said to you. So even if you didn't mean it, you have actually allowed your emotions to get the better of you. So my advice, is always take a few steps back, istighfar, salawat, take wudu. If you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting down, lie down. All the tips that the Prophet ﷺ had taught us. And hopefully we can make a more rational decision instead of an emotional one.
Thank you, Ustaz. I think this is a very good answer, and it covers all important things that could hold us on from giving up in our life, insyaAllah. Okay, saya tertarik dengan satu line dekat dalam ni. When we know how to surrender, we will win. And you also quoted here, it's about something about the beautiful of spiritual surrender. So, and then there's this one more thing, and one more quote, it's everything happens for you, not against you. So could you share with us what you mean by when we surrender, we will win?
Yeah. So first of all, the quote of everything happens for you, not against you, is actually a Quranic principle, because Allah SWT says, قُلْ لَا يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. Okay, and so I learned this from one of the lessons from Imam Ash-Sha'rawi. He's an Egyptian tafsir scholar, the late Imam, and he emphasized on lana. He said lana mush alayna. He said, which means, first of all, the meaning of that verse is qul, say, lan yusibana, nothing will afflict us, illa ma kataballahu lana, except what Allah has written for us, lana, not alayna, not against us. In Arabic, if it's alayna, it's negative, right? If it's a bad thing, like the word musibah and then the word ala comes, it means negative. So Allah uses the word lana, which means that sometimes bad things, Nor, happen to us for our own benefit. We just don't see the hikmah and the wisdom yet, right? Because we are going through that difficulty and hardship. Normally, based on my personal experience too in my life, that I will see it a year later, 5 years later, even 10 years later. I look back and wow, if not for that rejection, if not for that failure, if not for the fact that I had to close that company, I wouldn't have what I have today. If not for that failed relationship, I wouldn't have the marriage I have today. If not for this, if not for that, like if you look back in your life, you will notice that many things that didn't happen is actually for you. Kan? Like people sometimes like, oh, they were so heartbroken, devastated when the company that they belajar penat-penat nak kerja kat syarikat tu. In the end, they got rejected. They were so devastated, Nor. And then they got another job. They were like half-hearted. Okay lah, ambil je lah apa kerja yang ada. And then you know what? Like 2-3 years down the road, that company that they wanted to got shut down, bankrupt. So when you think you know best, Allah knows best. Allah always knows best. Wallahu a'lam, right? Allah is the all-knowing. He knows more than any one of us. And so we need to trust. Okay? And so back to your first part, which is when you surrender, you win. And it's about spiritual surrendering. And it's not like, oh, I give up everything, I don't want it. No. It's like, oh Allah, I've done my best. Right? I went to the job interview, I looked sharp, I dressed nicely, I groomed myself, I practiced, I asked people what to say, what not to say during the interview. I read up about the company, I read about the people who are going to interview me. I did all the thing I needed to do, all the homework. Sekali tak dapat. Right? That's what it means by surrendering. It means when you talk about tawakkul, the art of letting God, it's about surrendering after you've put in all of your effort. And what you are surrendering is the outcome, the results, right? The results. I have couples who go for IVF because they can't have a child after 8, 9, 10 years. You know, I always remind them, this is your usaha. This is your effort. The outcome only Allah controls. So you need to do your part and then you leave the rest to Him. That's when your heart finds peace with whatever the outcome is. Okay? You might be sad, but it won't be long, inshallah, because you trust in Allah's plans. Okay? Whatever it may be for you, you trust in His plans and you learn to accept it.
So, Ustaz, surrendering really means we letting everything in our hands. So we serahkan the outcome. So we're focusing on the efforts, but give the outcome to Allah's hands. So in the sense of the art of letting go, what are actually the keys for the art of the full surrendering to Allah, the full submission, but not fall into another category that serah pada takdir without having any macam serah sebenarnya, tapi it's actually a way of procrastinating, but not a proper surrendering. Sometimes it's very crucial difference, right? Sometimes it feels too hard. Okay lah, kita serah pada takdir je lah. So what is actually the key for untuk pegang the art of to actually properly letting God of all of our affairs in this dunya?
Thank you for asking that question. I think the best answer is to perhaps consider reading my book. That's the first one. But you know, one of the things I emphasize a lot, and even I wrote about this too in my other book, Call Upon Him, which is about the importance of accompanying every dua with effort, right? And then when you put in the effort, the hours, the sacrifices, okay, you go the extra mile, you do everything you can, and then you accompany it with dua, and then the rest of it you leave it to Him. To me, that's the best formula altogether. Okay, and like you said, it's completely wrong to think that aku tawakal je lah, and what they mean is diorang tak belajar pun untuk exam. Tawakal je lah, apa-apa yang keluar aku cuba jawab je. Kan? Is that the right kind of tawakkul in Islam? No. You know, as per the famous hadith, when the Bedouin man left his camel and he did not tie his camel, what did the Prophet ﷺ said? When he said, "Oh, I leave it in Allah." No, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Iqid first," which is tie your camel first and then surrender to Allah. He taught us in that very simple way. That is the true form of learning how to let God, to give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before you walk away, right? Before you say, "I'm done, I did everything." You have to do that. When you go back home, okay, you lock the doors to your house. When you park your car, you lock your car before you walk away, right? We have to do all of those things. So it does not make sense when you applying for jobs. Okay, so I know not just in Malaysia but everywhere. Okay, everywhere people are struggling to find jobs as the economy is recovering slowly at the moment. Right, the economy is still in a pretty bad shape. Companies are not hiring as many people. The pay isn't as good. So people are struggling without a job, right? And some people they give up after applying 2-3 times, and I think it's not enough for you to give up too soon. Going back to your first question, it's not enough to give up too soon, and that is not the true meaning of surrendering. You cannot say, "Oh, but Ustaz, I have straight A's, in my result. Well, I was top student, huh? I'm not going to go begging for, all these other types of jobs. I want those types of jobs only. And since I'm not getting them, then that's it. My future is doomed." No, you cannot say that. That is not what a true believer would say. The reflection of your words and your actions tell me more about where your faith is, right? You need to continue believing in Allah's goodness. That as long as you continually invest your time and your energy into trying to make something happen, and in this example, it's about finding a job. I hope anyone listening in right now, if you've been trying to get a job and you've not been successful, don't give up. I think today we live in a time when it's the most easiest to apply for a job. Correct, Nor?
Yes.
Yes. Tapi Nor, I pernah dengar some people, young people who just graduated, they say, "But Ustaz, it's very demoralizing." Okay? I know it's demoralizing, but your competition pun ramai today, correct? So, how do you apply for jobs nowadays? You can send, 10 resumes a day. Everything is online, email, go to certain websites that help you to link with, employers and stuff like that. Look at who's offering jobs. Every day you can send out your resume to 10 organizations every day. And if you did that for 30 days, you would have sent out 300 in a month. What is the likelihood or the chance that at least 2 to 3 of them would say, "Hey, come, let's do an interview"? I think at least 5. I think at least 10 would consider contacting you. If all else fails, don't repeat the 30-day exercise I just said, because we need to be smart too, right? There's this quote from they say it's attributed to Albert Einstein, who said that um, lunacy is repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And so if you do that, you're a lunatic, basically. So what you need to do is to change your strategy. Maybe there's something wrong with your resume. Get someone to check your CV and edit, amend, adjust your language. Tak betul ke apa ke. Like, work on those things. And then try again, another 10 days. Tak jadi juga, never mind. Now, go and talk to someone who is a career coach. Like, they can coach you on what to say during an interview and stuff like that, right? So, this is what I mean, or the true art of letting God and surrendering is actually putting in the effort fully. And then you can say, "Okay, I've done my part and I leave the rest to Allah."
Alhamdulillah. Okay, Ustaz, we have one question here. You quoted about Dr. Stephen Covey in one of the lines in the books. But the question is, if you want to have peace in your life, you can't have too many rules. So the question is, how many rules are considered many, and
Is that the question? How many?
rules? Yeah,
That's the
how
question.
many
Okay.
rules? Okay, is considered many rules. Is it depending on the context, or how do you How
Okay,
do
I
we
understand.
leverage
I
this
understand.
in the, yeah.
Actually, this is also a part of the book that many people screenshot and they quote and they highlight. Um, I think, yeah, I remembered listening to, again, the late Stephen Covey, best-selling author, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I was listening to actually one of his audio programs when I was 19, 20 years old. I can't remember. I was young back then. I was listening to it, and he talked about this. And, you know, I realized it later in life when I had my first child. Okay, so for those of you who have small children, you will understand. Okay, when you you set in your mind, okay, I need to control my child. My child cannot do this. My child cannot climb the chair. My child cannot play with water here. My child cannot eat on the sofa. My child cannot go too close to the door. My child cannot on the TV on her own. My child cannot sleep in this room. My child cannot. You understand what I mean? You're setting so many rules. What is your child going to do if they are 1 or 2 years old? They are going to break all of the rules, correct? Because they're too young, they don't
Yes.
understand, and that's their playful stage. So if you set so many rules, and then your child is going to break all of the rules anyway, how much peace are you going to be left with? Very little. You're going to get angry, you're going to get stressed, you're going to have anxiety, right? Just chill. Have lesser rules. Lesser rules does not mean no rules. I say lesser. So if you ask me how many is too many, I don't know, to be honest. I think the moment you begin to feel a heightened level of stress and anxiety, then maybe that's a bit too many. Okay? You can't control everything and everyone. So what you do is you keep some of the key critical rules that you say this is a must have. For example, my child should never be disrespectful to the elders. Okay? Mesti hormat orang tua. So that is a rule that I think is maybe key for some of you. My child mesti jaga solat. It's a key, right? Mesti. So it's not so many, but there's two, three, four, five, and it's like manageable. You can talk to them, you can advise them. Those things are so much more worth it. But I guess it's also to each his own, I would say. Some people, they can handle it. They can handle many rules, and they're pretty calm about it. If you like that, then go ahead. But I know a lot of people who do not have that capability, so I suggest to lessen it.
Yeah, thank you. I hope this answers this question. It's from Taskusin. And maybe we can take one more question before we move on. From Sham, how can we keep staying motivated and be positive, even though we know the test has come to us, has made us too fragile and might loosen up our faith a bit to Allah. So how do we stay motivated and stay positive?
How do you stay motivated and positive? Well, I think we need reminders every day. That's what I would say. There's this one motivational speaker. His name is Zig Ziglar, if I'm not wrong. He was the one who said that, um, motivation is like a shower. As much as you need a shower every day, you need motivation every day. Okay, um, you need it. So I would say, listen to reminders. I mean, Prof. Muhaya's work and everything. Like, there's so many good content out there. I think we should listen to more beneficial podcasts, watch more educational videos, okay, that you can find on YouTube or on Facebook, and more of these live streaming sessions that can be of benefit to you. We are forgetful. As human beings, we forget. We forget the importance of needing to stay on top of our game. And sometimes having just one person say something uplifting can change the entire mood, right? Just one person saying something nice to you, just one person complimenting you, just one person giving a random advice, and you heard it or you overheard it, it was given to somebody else. And then, wow, it does quite an amazing thing. So, my suggestion is always be actively looking out for opportunities for you to learn and to be reminded, inshallah.
But sometimes that's like you are put in a situation like we understand that this test is good for us, but sometimes there are situations where we can't see the hikmah yet, we can't see the wisdom yet, and it feels like the things that is happening to me make me a bit far from Allah. Is that something wrong something wrong to do with my perception towards the challenge, the problem I'm having now that holding me back that makes it harder for me to be positive? Or how do we
I
deal with that?
understand. I understand the question. Yeah. So I think sometimes when I talk to some people